everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday the 13th. If you believe any of that, I don't. But today is kind of feeling like one of those days. But I'm happy that you're here. We are going to be talking all about 5 foolproof steps to creating super sentences for your student writers. So, we are going to divvy this up into 5 steps or 5 sections of this concept. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. If you are watching the replay, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you're live, I'd love for you to interact. I think with StreamYard, you have to give um, the okay for me to see your name, but I think I still can see comments if you want to check those out and try it out if you are here live. But otherwise, go ahead and let me know that you're watching the replay and if you have any questions about today's live. So, heading right into this, as you know, or if you don't know, I am Christy and I help elementary teachers systematize their writing instruction so that they can produce more motivated and engaged and successful students. So that is my passion, and we're just going to continue talking about the writing topic of super sentences and how we go about this in the classroom. So we're going to talk about 5 things, as I mentioned. The first 3, we'll talk about how to teach writing sentences, what are complete sentences, and what is the difference between complete sentences versus fragments. Now, I will say these 5 sections that we're going to be talking about are highly searched for, and so they are questions that a lot of people are asking. And we know as teachers, as parents, that our students are really, a lot of them are very behind when it comes to writing. COVID did not help any of the matters. And so we're just going to meet them where they are. And this is an area that is a foundational skill prior to them doing paragraphs and all the things. So we're going to talk about those first 3 things. Number 4, we're going to talk about assessing writing sentences rubric. Okay, so how we're going to go about to assess our students to make sure they have what they need. And then the 5th thing we'll focus on is rewriting sentences. So we'll go ahead and talk about each of these in more depth. Before I do that, though, I want to make sure I offer to you again this free download. It's Ideas for Writing Prompts bookmarks. Again, if you are struggling to have your students get ideas or get even engaged or motivated to write, I'm all about giving them choice in regards to writing topics within the writing genre you are teaching. And so you can grab those at this site here. I'll put it in the chat later, but you can grab those here, and basically it goes through different writing genres. And as you introduce those genres and you're using those within the classroom, then you can have students just write down some ideas that they have within each of those and their own bookmarks. It's just a place for them to be able to write their ideas down. So, and then the second one that I offer that you can get for free as well is the Student Writing Skills Vault. This one takes the students more through, gives them an opportunity to go through the writing process through pre-writing, rough draft, and then editing, revising. Same thing though, there's another section on there that allows them to put their information, ideas and things like that when it comes time to writing. So I wanted to make sure I shared that first. And so now let's talk about the first thing, how to teach writing sentences. So we go ahead and break this down. This is one of my favorite ways to teach writing sentences. I've done this in the classroom. I do it online all the time. Either way, this is how I go about it. So you want to first start off with the fact that we obviously need to engage our students. And how do we do that? We can engage them with interests that they are into these days, thematic things that are popular. But on this particular screen, one way I like to go about teaching sentences is putting or providing students with funny or silly pictures. So as you can see here, this is a slide that has animals on it. Just it's kind of silly, no words, no anything, but it allows students to be creative with sentence building, okay, or ideal building. So I start with this. It captures their attention. It's funny, it's silly. Now, you could change this a little bit and per student's interest, create pictures around that. If you are teaching about animals or you have a theme, a thematic unit going on, it would work. Maybe you're doing friendship, maybe you're doing camping, maybe you're doing travel, whatever the theme is, capture some pictures or illustrations that you can provide that are eye-catching that would get your kids to laugh or relate to or something to that effect. When we do that, we've engaged our students, they're interested, and they're going to buy in so that they are going to write. Okay, so that's where we're capturing them first. We have to have them engaged. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do. Now, number two, what are complete sentences? So this is not a news flash for us teachers and for parents and whoever is watching, but we want to make sure we divvy up and talk about what this is. So a sentence, a complete sentence is a complete thought, right? And so what I like to do is I like to provide my students with sentence frames. Okay. Now, again, this depends on where your students are in the writing process. But if we're talking about how to create a good sentence, regardless of their age, regardless of their grade level, this may be a nice visual for them that they can use to ensure that they are creating or planning for a complete sentence. So in a complete sentence, we always learn about how we need a noun, verb, and an adjective. Now, prior to doing this, you obviously would want to make sure you've taught your students what a noun, verb, adjective is, okay, what they are. Also, articles, we want to think about a and the, words like that. So prior to that, so say we have that prior knowledge, you've already taught that. I like to set this up in that what it does is it's a little frame and it's not intimidating. So we're not even talking about writing complete sentences just yet. We're talking about getting those ideas down. So what is a complete sentence? Well, it has a noun, verb, adjective, but I like to take it a step further and have them incorporate a when and a where, okay, like a location or setting. So I set this up. When students are new to writing or not confident in writing, again, wherever they are, they could be older students still not able to write a good complete sentence. We need to back it up to where they are, regardless of what grade they're in, because those are these foundational skills that they need prior to being able to expect them to write paragraphs, essays, reports. So what we have here is this little these boxes, okay? And it's just to keep them organized. And what you see is there's two rows that have the noun, verb, adjective, when, where. The reason for that is there's just two options for them to look at two different pictures that I would typically provide, and then they get their ideas down. Okay, and I'm going to show you a specific example here in a minute. So when we are aware of what a sentence is and a complete thought and what that includes, then we're going to be able to write those complete sentences. All right. So then we ask, what is the difference between a complete sentence and a fragment? And so, as I mentioned, a complete sentence has noun, verb, adjective, and we like to extend it with the when and the where. But the difference here is that a complete sentence has a subject and a predicate. So using that same frame that I was talking about in the last slide, subject is the who or the what we're talking about. So I circled there the noun and the adjective. So for example, if I have a sentence that says the blue ball, okay, that's the what that I'm talking about. Or the little girl, that's the who I'm talking about. That's the subject. Then in the light blue color, the more turquoise color, I have verb and when, where's circled. That would be your predicate. That would be your did what. What did the subject do? So in the blue ball example, The blue ball bounced down the street one afternoon. Okay, that would be one example of a complete sentence. Let's go back to the little girl. The little girl skipped to her neighbor's house on Saturday. Okay, that would be a complete thought. So a complete thought has a subject and a predicate. Now, again, these are going to be pre-taught prior to expecting them to do this. But what I want to focus on here is that a fragment is lacking. Okay, the fragment has something missing. Okay, give me one second. The joys of working from home. Okay, so a fragment would be something is missing. So it might be the little girl. Okay, but the little girl what? Right? Or it could be the blue ball. The blue ball did what? Or likewise, it could have the predicate and not the subject. So it could say bounce down the street or skip to the neighbors. But again, there's a lacking piece, and that is what we call the fragment. So backing up to this visual here, we have these broken links. So a complete sentence is a complete link, and the fragment has your subject and your predicate, but it's broken up. It's not together. Okay, so that's what we want to make sure is. And so all of these things are taught prior to expecting our students to come up with these great grand super sentences. So again, articles, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and then also complete versus fragment sentences, subject, predicate. Those are all foundational skills that we have to have provided with these students. These are individual lessons prior to expecting them to put it all together. All right. Okay, so that's that part. Then the next question that we'd ask, and that is asked often, is something in regards to assessing. How do we measure our students' writing with a specifically writing sentence rubric? So when we are writing sentences, how do we measure whether or not our students are writing that super sentence, one that's needed to be acceptable, up to par, meeting expectations? And so what I want to share is the same thing here. You see the same frame, the same template. So my question is, why complicate things when we can use the resources that we already have? So this very resource that you've seen a couple times not only guides your students in getting ideas onto paper, it also can act as a rubric. So when we are looking over, we as the teachers or they as independent learners are self-assessing themselves and asking, okay, do I have all the pieces that make up a super sentence or a complete sentence? Then what they do is they just go back and look at this little checklist. I have a noun, I have a verb, I have an adjective, I've told where it takes place and when it took place. Okay, that is an example of how to assess whether you have it or not. Again, likewise, that same sample, that same template could be for the teacher. So you're looking at your students' writing and you say, okay, they've got a noun, they've got a verb, they don't have an adjective. If it's not checked off, if you don't see it there, that is an example of how you can assess it. So what I'm saying is let's work smarter, not harder. Okay. Why complicate things with an additional rubric and multiple rubrics and an additional this and that and the other thing? Let's use the resources that we have that we as teachers can use for assessing, that the students can use for working and learning, right? And it just makes sense because it's applicable. It's not fancy, but it's applicable. All right, so that is what I would do. It's the same resource. Now, over on the right-hand side here, you see same type of setup. You got a silly picture. This is for more of the younger kiddos that are just learning to put, words to paper. Maybe they need that extra guide with a word bank, things like that. But again, not discriminating the age of where your students are. It depends on where they are and what we need to provide for them. So you might have a fifth grader, but maybe They're still struggling. Trust me, it happens. I experienced this in my own home. Learning does not come easy to everyone. And so we have to figure out the gap that's taking place with our kids, the whys and whatever it is. It's where are they right now? What do we need to provide them? What do we need to teach them so that they can get up to grade level and where they need to be? But if they're a fifth grader and they don't know what a noun is, it doesn't really matter that they are asked to write a 5 paragraph paper, right? We have to know those foundational skills, and it's so important, and it's lacking immensely. And so on the right there, there is an example, same type of setup, just scaffolded a little bit more, where the word bank is provided per the picture. They have a place to write, but down below is their check off, and that's where it's like underlined in a certain color if you have the verb, the noun, and things like that. I do have that in my TPT store. If you are interested, you can just message me or comment and let me know. But this is just an example of how you can assess with a rubric using the same material that your students are using. All right. And then part 5, question 5 that gets asked a lot is like, what about rewriting sentences? And so that same template that I'm talking about can be used, and we're going to use it to not only write the sentence and piece our ideas together in a complete sentence, we're also going to revise that sentence. And this is where we start to incorporate learning how to revise. And you see this arms here that I created. Arms is something that's been around. Okay. It's an acronym for when you were revising. The arm is where I created arms within the arm. But it's just a visual for students to remember that acronym is part of revising. And the part of arms that we are revising is the moving part, the M, the moving part. So for example, you see that same template, I just kind of shrunk it down a little bit. Using this picture, I created the funny chipmunk strummed the guitar under the forest tree one afternoon. Now, you would be flabbergasted at how a student that doesn't typically write creates these amazing sentences using the check boxes that I showed you from the same template. So again, you would offer the picture, you would share the picture, again, engaging and capturing their interest. You ask them, what do you see? Who do you see? Describe it. Where do you think it is? When do you think it's there? All of these things are so creative. It's creative writing because the picture right here, you can see, doesn't show anything other than the chipmunk with a guitar or ukulele or whatever instrument that is. Okay. So they get to be creative. And so typically they start making connections. Well, where do you find chipmunks? Now, it doesn't have to be realistically where it is. It could be at the pond or whatever. You know what I mean? It could be in my neighbor's, I don't know, cat bowl, cat fish bowl, whatever it is. So you can be really creative with it. The point is that it's silly, it's not super serious, but it lets them start brainstorming. So they're brainstorming, they're writing it down in that checklist there. Okay. They're writing it down in this checklist. Okay. We've got the noun, we got the verb, adjective. Okay. Now, when do you think they were there? And then you talk about the setting. It could be a time, it could be a day, it could be a time of year, it could be a season, right? Whatever. It could be a holiday. And then, of course, the where's. So you're talking about setting at this point. And so they put all their ideas down in this checklist. Okay. Now, again, these 2 rows are opportunities for 2 different types of ideas. Same picture, could be a different picture. Typically, when I do this activity, I give 2 pictures. And so we create 2 different sentences, one for each picture. That's typically what this is set up for in the classes that I've used it with. But you can tweak it and adjust however you need it. But they put their ideas here. All right. Once all of those boxes are filled in, this is when they create. So you start and you tell them we need an article. So in that case, I added the. Now, if we were to back up to this chart here, let me just go back Sorry to make you dizzy. Say, for example, I put chipmunk munched, or I will use that the guitar picture. Chipmunk strummed, sneaky, went where, okay? If I were to read that left to right, it wouldn't be a sentence. And this is what I teach the kids. Chipmunk strummed, sneaky, 2 o'clock in the forest. That doesn't make sense. And they know it doesn't make sense. So then at that point, we talk about adding an article. Okay. So we're going to have to add a couple of words in throughout our sentence to make it make sense. Okay. So the funny is my adjective. The funny chipmunk. The adjective goes with the noun. Okay. The adjective describes the noun. The funny chipmunk. What did it do? It strummed. That's my verb. Here's another article. Okay. Here's another noun. Okay, where was the chipmunk? Under the forest tree. When? One afternoon. And so they learned that they put that together. But the revising portion and the rewriting sentences comes in where they write the sentence. Now they could take the same exact sentence and reword it. For example, we teach them that you don't have to start with the article and the noun adjective in the beginning. You can start with the where or when. So maybe in that same exact sentence, I say, one afternoon under the forest tree, a funny chipmunk strummed the guitar. Then they start to realize, oh, we can rearrange these sentences and make it sound even better or different. And that in the writing process is all about revising. That's the M in arms, move. We sometimes need to move things around to make it sound better. Okay. So it's incorporating all those skills kind of early on. So you're incorporating already editing, revising within this activity. Okay. So then maybe I use the same picture, but this time I change it up. Maybe that second row has different ideas. So instead of it's one afternoon, it's one sunny day. And instead of under the forest tree, I put in the woods. Instead of, let's see, funny chipmunk, I have a tri-colored rodent. So I changed the adjective, I changed the wording for the noun. And let's see, instead of strummed, I used played as the verb. And then for the people walking by. Okay. So you can see right here, using the revising strategy of moving words around, changing up your ideas, changing up your parts of speech, you can create all sorts of sentences. And so if you were to use this frame, it could be how you go about it and deliver it is up to you. You can do one picture and have them create multiple sentences. You can create a couple of pictures and have them create a sentence for each picture, however you want to do it. But it's a fun way of doing this. Now, I have an animal theme type, again, per your theme that you're teaching. It could be friendship, it could be holidays, it could be camping, it could be transportation, it could be a whole lot of things. If you can incorporate things that are silly and engaging and whatever it is, maybe trending they use these days, do it, because that will get your students writing. All right. So that wraps up the 5 foolproof ways to have your students writing super sentences. And if you have not gotten the invitation from me through these lives, I would like to invite you to join the Crack the Writing Code waitlist. Our course is opening June 20th. And so if you want to hop on there, we will send in emails and keep you updated on what's going on. It is more information. Actually, you can join right here in this link here to join the waitlist. There's more information on what the course is going to offer. And then we will be using emails to give you guys some more information as we go. When you do join the waitlist, though, there'll be a Facebook group for you guys to join. It'll be engaging. We've got a bingo card out there, just some fun things for us to get to know each other and engage with one another. If you have not joined our Facebook group, there is the link right there. It's under Elementary Writing Strategies, a community or teacher community. And there are some questions prior to joining, so please don't skip any of those because we'd love to have you there. And of course, if you have any questions about anything writing related that you would like us to chat about on a Friday live, let us know that too. So I hope that helps, guys. I want to make sure that you guys have your answers, your questions answered. And again, if you have any part of this five foolproof, it's Friday, you guys. It is totally Friday. The foolproof steps to creating super sentences, make sure you ask. And I hope that was helpful. And until then, we will see you next Friday. You guys have a great weekend. See you later.